Alright, in this PHP program tutorial, I'm going to be going over how to create a user login and registration using some MySQL databases, well, one MySQL database and a table. And I'm also going to go into making email activation and things like that. Alright, so right here we just have a blank, our blank index page with our PHP tags, and this is a page right here. Now, to start this, I'm going to go ahead and what we're going to do is we're going to make our login form first, and then after we have our login done, we're going to make some dummy records, if you will, in our database, and then we'll eventually get to the registration. So first, we want to create some HTML code. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a form, because we have to have a login form. So we're going to, you don't really need a name. I don't name my forms, but I suppose that's a personal preference. We're going to have an action, and our action is going to be equal to our page, which we're just going to go off to a separate file called login. Actually, we'll make it a self-submitting. No, we'll go to login. So we'll go off to a separate file, and we'll call that file login.php. And we're going to need a method. And our method is going to be post, because you don't want, in your URL box, you don't want all the user's data displayed. So we're going to end our form. So we have our form. Now we're just going to create a text box. So we want to go with input type equals text, and then our name will be username, and our well, actually that's all we're going to need. So we're going to need a same thing, so you just want to copy it and paste it, and I'm going to change this to password. Whoops. And you also want to change the type to password. Save it. And then we're going to need another one, except we're going to change the name to buttons and the type to submit. And we're going to have a value, and our value is just going to be login. So we're going to save this and refresh our page. So we have this stuff here. Now this is just for my MySQL. I'm just going to make this a little bit neater. Whoops. There we go. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create a table for this, and I'm going to pause it while I do it. Alright, so I've created a table. It looks just a little bit nicer. Alright, so we have our username, which you put in right there, and your password, which we put in here, and then our login. But it goes to our login.php page, which we have not created, and this page is going to have all of our scripting in it. So I'm just going to save this page out to login.php, and if we refresh and resend the data, you get nothing, because we have no code, no script, no nothing in here. So in here we're going to need our PHP tags, and really we don't really need them in here because we're going off into a different page for submitting. So the first thing you want to do is we want to get our data from the user, so that'll be our username. And since we use the post method, you want to do $_post, and make sure it's capital Post, and then brackets, and then single quotes in the brackets, and username. So and we're just going to copy this, and we're going to get our password. Alright, so save. Now, we have our username and we have our password. Now we want to create our, we're going to create our data and such in our database. So we're going to come up in new PHP MyAdmin. Now, if you're running on a paid host, you should have access to PHP MyAdmin. And I'm just going to hit go. And since I'm just running this on my local computer, my username is just set to the default, which is root, and my password is just password. Alright, so I'm just going to use an existing database and come in here, or we'll just make a new one. Either way. Alright, so I'm just gonna get rid of this because that was just for testing something. Alright, so we're going to come down here and we're going to create a new table. And we're just going to call this table users and our number of fields. So we're going to need a few fields in our database, and I'm going to make a list of the ones we need. So we're going to need an ID. You always want to have an ID in your databases. You want to have username. We're obviously going to need a password and some additional information that you might want during your registration process, maybe an email, a date of birth, stuff like that, like first name, or we'll just say full name, and that'll likely have an underscore. So we have six fields, so we're going to throw 6 in there and hit enter. We're creating our table, and right here we're just going to put in the field names. Come back here, email, date of birth, and what was the other one? Full name. Alright, so our ID, we're just going to scroll over, and you want to put the index to primary, and you want to put it as auto increment, and scroll back over. Our username is going to be a varchar, and we'll say a max of 50 characters. Our password is going to be a varchar, and we'll set the max to 100, but we're going to be using MD5 encryption and encrypting our passwords, so it'll shorten it to about 75 or so. Our email, set to a varchar of 150. Date of birth, we'll just set to a varchar. You can set it as a date, but I like having it as varchar because I can set it to various formats and whatnot. We'll just say 20, well, we'll say 50, and full name, varchar, and we'll go with 200. So we come down here, we're going to hit save, and right here we have our table added. Okay, so we're going to come into structure, and we have our table right here. So it's getting a little bit long, and so I'm going to stop it here and check out the next part of the video.